What's up, everybody? This is Gold, Girls, and Glory, Bam Bam Malone, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Some bad news to strange news. There has been a rebranding, a rescheduling, whatever you want to call it, of NXT. It seems like Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis are kind of taking the reins from Triple H and kind of doing what they want. It's been reported that it's because of NXT losing to AEW in the Wednesday Night Wars, using air quotes there. I'm not so sure about that, but what say you guys?
Well, given that Bronson Reed's release is apparently based on Vince's failure to see anything that he could do anything on the main roster, that kind of says it all right there. Plus, the fact that 205 Live, which I don't know how that's survived up until now, is going to go above the 205-pound weight limit.
Oh, gee.
Including on the most recent episode to come, featuring a match between Josh Briggs and Joe Gacy, both who are 250 pounds. This, I think, spells disaster.
Does it spell disaster, Kaliko?
It is weird, but I did catch up on one thing that a person said. I caught a guy say, and that like NXT was always supposed to be developmental, but once they got Shinsuke Nakamura, they kind of upped the level, and it raised NXT stock from being a developmental to a brand per se. Honestly, there's been some ups and downs with the stars from NXT transitioning to the roster. And then there are some guys who don't want to go to the roster. So when you got that, plus I don't think the AEW part is. I think it's more of a creative issue. Because NXT is kind of running how Vince used to run it, and the main roster, like I said, is running to please stockholders and families. So I think it's because NXT is more popular amongst the adults than SmackDown and Raw. Even though if you would put it in any order, I would say NXT, SmackDown, Raw popularity as far as like 18 and And Vince sees that shit, so he wants to redo his own thing and make it in his own image to kind of show that he still got the reins. And it's not, I get it in a sense because people say he's out of touch, but that bank account say he a legend in the making. So it's one of those things where it's like you see the product doing one thing, but the money on the back end is doing a whole nother.
Very true, but that money really, you have the money, but you don't have the superstars to back that number up, no?
Yeah, but I always told you, WWE, after like the Austins and the Rocks and cats leaving to go to Hollywood, WWE had this thing where they want WWE to be the brand and everybody else underneath is just the characters, right? It's kind of like the Super Friends. No one was bigger than the other, but the Super Friends is what it is, right? Like Marvel. No one's bigger than Marvel, they got all these characters, but Marvel is the thing that brings it all together. That's what I always thought that was going to be the end goal. To make sure that no one becomes bigger than the WWE itself.
The one thing that honestly really bugs me the most about this is that Triple H really believed in the talent in NXT. He was the backbone of morale in the NXT locker room. And if you're taking that away from him, I mean, is he still going to be the guy that, holds all the NXT meetings and everything and, keeps up that morale? Because if they take him away from that, morale is going way down.
Right. But
Yeah. I honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if Triple H tries to
go to AEW.
talk Vince into letting him have his own brand.
Well, wasn't that what NXT was? Triple H's own brand?
I figure if he could keep Vince occupied with NXT, he could sneak around and get this other brand. I don't know. The WWE is in need of a huge coup d'etat, and not the Finn Balor one.
That's a coup de grace.
Coup d'etat, coup de grace, same thing, same difference, blah blah blah.
You say potato, I say potato.
I say rutabaga.
But it's the one thing that got me really was that it was reported, and that this is just rumor and innuendo, that Vince McMahon didn't see any value in Bronson Reed, that he couldn't be anything on the main roster. I feel like that is a gross oversight, but what do you think Vince McMahon is looking for in a main roster talent right now if it's not going to be a Bronson Reed? And do you think that it has something to do with that he's not homegrown, that he is a independent guy?
Oh God! At this point, I'd say it's 49% not homegrown, 51% impatience.
What about
I-
you? Continue.
I'm done. I can't say anymore on it.
What say you, Kaliko?
I mean, considering that if it's true that Vince never watched NXT, first impressions are everything, and maybe he just didn't have the greatest of matches, and that was the coup de grace per se. But I think I don't know. If I were Vince was probably looking for people to play their position, right? Because WWE, you get a lot of people to kind of complain about their position. And I'll give you one superstar who just plays a position and he gets it, and it's benefited him for the most part, and that's Riddle. Like, most people who will get a championship shot and or a championship run and lose it 2 months, they'll probably be like, "Oh, Vince is holding me back," and da 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 da. And Riddle's more like, "Bro, as long as I'm on TV and I'm getting paid, I frankly don't care. I just do what I need to be done." And that's where there's a balance, because you got to have a balance of people who are willing to do what's being told, but also people who are willing to take that risk. And that's the bigger balance, more so than anything.
So, do you think that NXT kind of spoils their talent with, you know, kind of nurturing them, rather than WWE kind of, kind of, I don't want to say abuse them, but uh, things are a little less predictable.
It seemed organic because NXT seemed more organic because it seemed like they treated the wrestlers like adults, right? They gave them a format or a base, a foundation, and you can make an argument that they allowed them to work within the foundation and kind of ad lib here and there. The freedom on the main roster may not be that way unless you're a Cena or a Roman, unless you're a top guy to get trusted, which to me is a catch-22, because how can you get to be trusted unless you don't be able to take the risk? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's the biggest issue.
So, and it seems like they're going with taller guys and not as old. And less independent guys. That's not going to bode well for NXT, is it, Scooter?
No, not at all. I mean, given that, and I'm not sure if this has anything to do with it, but Vince and company recently just tried to purchase CMLL down in Mexico because they wanted to get back into Mexico. And that would have come with a lot of talent, but they were looking to sell. CMLL wanted to sell the arenas they ran into because they own the arenas. That's why it fell through. So I'm just wondering if this is really a business decision or a personal decision.
Do you think we'll
Could
see?
be both. Could be both.
We'll see a Triple H ran NXT in the future, or do you think that this is going to be the new normal for NXT?
I hate to say this, but I think this is what we get until Vince shuffles his mortal coil.
Anything you want to add to that, Kaliko?
I think it's just showing that it's his company and he's gonna do what he wants to it until he collapses. So we'll see how it goes.
Another thing in the news this week, Kith Lee revealed that he's had some major health issues in the last 5 months. It seems to be, he wasn't 100% specific, but it appeared to be heart related. Scooter, what's going on with Kith Lee, and do you think that this affects his career at all?
I think regardless of whether or not Lee is gonna want to continue, the WWE is, if there's one thing off in his blood work, they're not gonna let him come back. I mean, yes, he's been back, and the inflammation in his heart has subsided. But the question is that a indicator of an underlying condition? And this brings to mind is, and one, Lee is not a recreational drug user of any kind, but this brings to mind how Eddie Guerrero passed. An underlying heart issue that went undiagnosed. So, quite honestly, if it means Lee stays alive, I would gladly say keep him out of the ring.
So you think that this might be something that medically disqualifies him?
I mean, we saw him, I think, twice in the past number of weeks. And
Twice in 3 weeks.
But I don't think that we're gonna be seeing the same Kith Lee that when that would go 200 miles per hour. It's almost like, and this is a very weird comparison I'm about to make, Andre, and how Andre kept going despite his health issues and the acromegaly and whatnot. So if Lee has got that underlying issue, he's gotta do it right. Yeah, he's gotta do what's right by himself.
Right.
Like, we get that you love wrestling and you want to perform for us, but we don't want you to drop dead in the middle of the ring.
Absolutely not. Kaliko, anything you want to add?
The first thing I want to say is I just thank God he's okay, right? Because that's the end. That's the end result, right? And which is what matters the most. And it's funny that he brings up Eddie and Andre. I also bring up Chris Bosh, because Chris Bosh was another guy that was having like heart issues and blood clot issues and blood issues. So I feel like they did the same thing with him as they did Chris Bosh. Like, bro, you can't do nothing until we figure out what's going on, right? So I think that was the right call, because at the end of the day, you want him to be healthy and be alive more so than anything. And then I also want to say a big F you to all those people who just was like, oh, they're just holding Keith Lee down and da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, this is why we should be patient and cautious with our approach. Because this whole time, people were just thinking Keith Lee is being held down by the man, when in actuality, they're holding him down because of the fact they don't want him to die. And that's a bigger issue. Different kind of hold down.
Right. And, if he is, can't compete anymore because of this health issue, then, I am glad that they caught it in time and that he could maybe have treatment for it and maybe have a normal life in the long run, without wrestling. The other side of that is we've seen more than our share of people that were medically disqualified. Case in point, Daniel Bryan, Ember Moon, Edge. So whatever he's got going on, there might be something that could requalify him out there.
given that this is not an injury, though. This is heart related, and that it's if something goes wrong again, that's it. Lee's gonna be no WWE doctor will clear him.
Then we'll just see Kith Lee in AEW. Speaking of AEW, Rampage debuted last night. We're not going to be covering that because we did not see it yet. We're SmackDown watchers.
Well, I mean, I could be watching it right now if this was last night and not Saturday.
Oh well, you know, whatever.
But it will be
So
featuring an Impact Championship match for the first time in AEW history.
right, and Christian is apparently getting not only an Impact Championship match, but also a an AEW World Championship match at Double or Nothing. You know, AEW's biggest paid preview, their WrestleMania. Is this their way of compensating because Hangman Page is taking time off?
I think this is going to be. I think this is just a placeholder for a certain someone.
But do you think that that guy that we're not saying his name right now is actually going to take that place?
I believe he is.
Really?
He's making a return. It's just a matter of with who. And given AEW's pay-per-view is running in Chicago, it's more than likely it's AEW. And on top of that, Daniel Bryan is apparently rumored to be making his AEW debut at the Grand Slam show in Queens on September 21st. It's I think I don't think Christian is going to be walking out AEW champion. Maybe this is the way they get the Impact title back to Impact. This also, I'm thinking maybe what if this is a way to change All Out's main event?
I was thinking that too, but you know, we'll talk about Rampage when we maybe have more information on it. But Hangman Page, do you think with all the developments that has been going on, that he was going to be given the ball at Double or Nothing? Or he was promised the ball and then plans changed because CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and that's kind of why he decided to go on leave for the moment?
I thought we weren't saying his name.
Yeah, well, you know. Kaliko?
Let's go. Yeah. to me, I told you this was always going to be an issue with me with AEW because they keep bringing all these people in, and it's kind of fucking over the people who've been there since day one. And this is like, how do you deal with that morale? Like, it's one thing bringing in a Rusev or a Hager and just kind of building them from the ground up, but it's different when you're bringing in these heavy hitters and they're going to overshadow the people that you spent a year building. And that's the biggest problem with AEW.
What say you, Scooter?
Hmm. You know, as much as everybody wants to say this is, Vince doesn't see AEW as competition, and then that's just complete bull. But again, at the same time, somebody, Tony Khan Senior's got to, put a hold limit on Tony Khan's, spending accounts.
Because at the moment, it doesn't seem like they're getting back what they're putting out. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
And to finish off our news segment, a bit of good news, bad news, whatever kind of news you want to say it is. Candice LeRae got injured earlier this announced that she announced that she got injured. She will be back around February from this injury that we call pregnancy. Congratulations to Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae and Baby Wrestling. Scooter, do you see them raising this baby better than they did Indy Hartwell and Austin Theory?
I mean, as long as they can keep track of it and not lose it like they did Austin.
Yeah. What say you, Kaliko?
But also, I just want to bring this up. Candice has no plans to stop wrestling until she's told she can't wrestle anymore.
Candice Wrestling. Kaliko, same question.
As long as they don't do her love life like Indy Hartwell, we'll be okay.
I mean, and they have. They, don't accept candy from strangers in white vans. Dexter Loomis. So, hopefully their child will listen this time. And I'll conclude our coverage of the news this time around. And now a quick word from our sponsors.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.